recording it. Hey guys, happy Saturday morning. I want to talk to you today about color. Color is so important in all of life. I feel like color is a gift from God. And I've told this story before, so forgive me if you've heard it before, but I think it's so fascinating. Those that have had near-death experiences have come back and said that the colors in heaven are so much more amazing and vibrant and have so many more that we've never seen on earth. And I always find that concept such a fascinating idea. We have three colors. Every single color on the face of the earth is from the three primary colors. And those, of course, are red, yellow, and blue. And all the different shades, if you go to Daniel Smith, his claim to fame is having a gazillion colors. And every time you turn around, he's got a new one. But is he inventing colors out of thin air? Of course not. He is doing slightly different recipes of the colors that are out there. Or maybe he's using a different slight mineral combination. So it's an interesting thing. And those of you that might be interested in hearing more about the color combinations behind every brand of watercolor paint, you can look that up. You can look it up on their website, or you can get good at decoding the little numbers that are on your watercolor sheets that you get from the company or on the paints themselves. That's why there's variances. Ultramarine blue in Daniel Smith is slightly different. Perhaps I'm pulling this example out of my ear, but slightly different perhaps than Winsor and Newton. And you can look up their combination of their recipes for that if anyone's ever interested. But let's talk about warm and cool colors. I have so much to say on the subject, and I want to just get a lot out for you. So I'm going to just ramble a little bit if you don't mind. And those taking it with the tape, feel free to pause it at any time and go back or look at what I'm going to put on the screen. First of all, warm colors. I'll tell you an interesting fact I found out. I started looking up some things about color wheels in preparation for this. And one thing that I found beyond fascinating is that Isaac Newton created the color wheel. And it's the same color wheel that we use today. It's never been changed. And as a scientist, he was looking at figuring out colors and how they relate to each other through a prism. And that's how he came up with a color wheel. But furthermore, his color wheel, he assigned notes to. And I've always thought art and music, painting and music, all of the arts are complementary to each other. And I thought Isaac Newton got it right, figuring that out. I always think it's real fascinating that those of you that paint also enjoy music. It doesn't go hand in hand. You don't like every form of art, or you're not good at every form of art. You're not good at every form of music. But if you enjoy it and appreciate it, that's what it's all about. In my past life, I used to manage the symphony here in Myrtle Beach for quite a few years and played in it and a few other neighboring symphonies. If you're like me, we go through chapters of our lives, what we focus on. And in those days, that's what I was really into. And I remember they would send me, I would manage them and I would do their marketing PR. And they would send me once a year to a national symphony conference, I will call it, like a workshop conference. And I would go to all the workshops about marketing, among other things. And I still remember, I think Chicago Symphony Orchestra had a campaign where they said, here's excuses why you don't think you should go to a symphony. And one is, I don't play an instrument. Another one was, I'm not a music major. And the reactions always were, you don't have to be a fine chef that went to classes to learn recipes and became a world famous chef to enjoy a good meal. And I would like to apply that to art as well. However, if you understand certain aspects of it, I think it will help you with appreciating it. and one is the color wheel and the way that colors relate to us. So with that in mind, let me start by talking about warm and cool. So warm colors, oddly enough, tend to be something that younger children are attracted to more. Isn't that interesting? Warmer colors are a little bit more friendly. They're a little bit brighter. In general, there's exceptions, but I'm just going to go with that for now. They also bring things in smaller, as opposed to cooler colors. As we get older, we prefer cooler colors, so say the experts. Again, I find that real interesting. So warm colors, which are, I have a little line here to show you. If you do have a color wheel, and I actually prefer the smaller ones, but I went ahead and bought a big one just for this class. Oddly enough, the colors are perfect on these big ones. For example, on the warm side, which is the reds and yellows, the yellow-green is the correct color. And yet the yellow-green on the large one is almost the same as green. So I guess look at the names also. These colors to me are a little bit more accurate and ideal than in the small one, the big one. So we'll just look at the names. But the warm colors, because they close in, they also make things come forward in your paintings. They also make a room warmer. If you're in an environment that has oranges in them, for example, and warmish colors, warm yellows, tomato reds, all the warm shades. A lot of times, if you think of things that have those colors, it'll remind you what's warm or cool. So talking about warm, think of fires, think of boho colors, hippie colors. A lot of times, if you think of the boho rooms, those of us old enough to remember that style, and I actually have some of that boho flavor in the cabin we now live in. If you think of just that warm, enticing autumn feel, autumn sunsets, that's all warm. Anything to do with autumn is warm in a matter of speaking. The leaves are a warm palette. Golden is warm. Now, blue, on the other hand, which is the main color, you've got two primary colors on the warm side, which is red and yellow. And you have one primary color on the cool side, which is blue. So it's really a triangle of colors if you're looking at your color wheel. And that triangle of colors, if you want, you could put the warms forward. Sometimes people like the split down the middle. I put a big mark for you to remind yourself. But the split, you could either put it on one side or you could put warm or cold on the top. I like, for some reason, warm on top, so I'm going to stick with that for now. They all relate. They all go around and connect. So you have red and orange, and in the middle is red-orange. You know, you have orange and yellow, and in the middle is yellow-orange. So all of these colors in the middle of every color combination is a combination of the two around it. Also, these color wheels, by the way, and then I'll get back to cool tones. The color wheels many times will help you out with combination. If you add black, you'll have a darker. We don't add black, but in general, there's a darker version of yellow ochre. What if you add white? There's a lighter version. In watercolor, we add simply more water. What if you add blue? Now you've got a greenish color. What if you add yellow? Now it's more yellow from the orange yellow, and red, you're going to have more of an oranging. So a lot of color wheels are helpful that way, but they're also helpful because of complementary. But I'm going to interrupt myself and we'll come back to that. I want to finish my thought on blue. So as we get older, we prefer blue. That doesn't mean your favorite color changes, but sometimes it does. If you rethink it, when you're a child, you pick a color, it's your favorite, might be your favorite sweater or based on a favorite Crayola crayon, but you pick a color and you kind of stick with it. But sometimes it's good to reevaluate what your favorite color is. And sometimes it's nice. Here's my favorite color to wear. Here's my favorite color to paint with. Here's my favorite color to decorate with. You can have different favorites for different setups. The cooler colors are the choices for most people for, say, smaller rooms or bedrooms. They're very soothing. Think of water, think of sky. Think of relaxing with very smooth tones. While you're painting, if you put bluish in the back and cooler colors in the back and the warmer colors in the forefront, it will help with the 3D effect because the warm colors will pop out. So a lot of people will choose either consciously or subconsciously. And I'll tell you what, from a marketing standpoint, don't think for a minute they don't use colors for you psychologically. Green stands for something a lot of banks want to use for success. You know, blue is going to calm you down. A lot of therapists, I'm sure, if they're smart, would use blue. Although if they want it to feel warmer, they might use a yellow ochre or warm tones. So we want to use them in our paintings. So back to the color wheel. So everything, and again, I'm going to keep the warm on the front. I'll go back to the big one. Everything, and I have silver lines here to stand out. Everything that's up here in the warm area has a complementary color. What does complementary mean? It doesn't mean it the way that we would use it in real language. What it means is that the color looks good with it, and mixed with it, it'll be a very nice neutral shade, which will work well for shadows or backgrounds to something you're painting. So for example, orange and blue are opposites. They're complementary. And if you mix orange and blue together, and those of you painting, feel free to grab those two colors, you're going to get a beautiful shadow color. So if you have, for example, an orange pumpkin you're painting, and you want to put some shadows in it or something surrounding it, you could either use blue or even better, and I would use a darker shade if you're using it for shadows, but the complementary color with it, mixed with it, is going to give you this lovely complementary shading to it. Let me just do that real quick while I'm talking about it. So I'm going to get an orangey color. I'm just going to use Aussie Red Gold because it's handy. And then I'm going to get a neutral blue. I'm just going to use, what is this? Cobalt blue. And here they are next to each other. When you mix them together, and the recipe does matter, how much of one or the other. It's fun sometimes to make charts that, you know, here's 3/4 of the blue, and here's now 1/3 of the blue, but I'm just going to make this real strong in the middle. And this is probably 50-50. And then if I put a little bit more blue into it, it's going to go into the grayish tones that would complement it very well. So if you have an orange item that you're mixing, that you're painting with, these colors with the two complementaries will look beautiful with it in a natural way. Now, I'm a kind of girl, a lot of times I use Payne's Gray most of the time. I use other colors as well, just to add a beautiful no-nonsense shading. Payne's Gray, by the way, is a cool color, and I think it looks beautiful with most. It's got a navy undertone, and it's very similar to indigo. But you'll get your own shade of complementary as you're playing around with the two together. So with that in mind, take a look at your color chart, your color wheel, and think that through for everything. Yellow and blue are complementary. They look pretty together. and they look nice together, but they also will give you mixed together a beautiful shade for the lighter. If you have a yellow sun, a yellow flower is even a better example, and you mix these two together, you're going to have a nice shading for that. And you can go all the way across. Red and green are easy to remember, Christmas colors. But all these other versions are good to know too. So that's the first thing I want to tell you as far as the color wheel, or the second thing, whatever we're up to. But the next thing I want to tell you about with the color wheel and warm and cool is that if you want certain colors to look the best in your mixes, I recommend you stick in the same family. So I wanted to show you this. I wanted a clean, bright orange. So I had the option to use two warms. Cadmium yellow is warm, cadmium red is warm, and I mixed them. There it is in the middle, and I put it out here too. Slightly different recipe combination of which I'm heavier with. I think I'm slightly heavier with yellow there. But they're going to give you this bright, vibrant, warm orange. That's my favorite orange when I'm mixing oranges, by the way, and I want a straight orange. What if you take lemon yellow, which is a cool yellow, by the way, with most people. Cadmium yellow light is also on the cool side. What if I take a lemon yellow and mix it, which is cool, and mix it with cadmium red, which is warm? Now I'm going to get a dirtier orange. And again, I tried to put it separate for you to see. That one kind of drooped around, but you can even see it here. It's not that bright, clean orange because you're mixing two warms together. Now you've got a cool and a warm. Now, what if you take two cools together? Now you have got a clean color also. You have the lemon yellow, which is cool, and you have the cadmium red, excuse me, you have the alizarin red. I switched it over, alizarin crimson, which is also cool, or I like to call it neutral. Artists differ on this. Alizarin crimson is a coolish red, but you can also use it, which is not on any of these maps, not on the color wheel, but some colors go well with a lot of things, and I like to call them neutral. So this one, I would consider that, if you want to know my opinion. Otherwise, just call it cool and you'll be fine. And there's that color. I want to go through the colors with you. I made a color chart. Feel free to pause your tape if you're watching and take a look at it. This color chart, I was trying to figure out how to make it a little cleaner for you because it, you know how words sometimes move a little bit. But unfortunately, this is the best, but it's further away. So I'm going to keep it, how about from the side? Whoops, that one, I pushed the wrong button. I'm just going to stick with this. Hopefully you can make it out. So I included the colors that are my 12 suggestions, but then I also threw in a few that many of you have. So your warm colors, anything that says burnt on it, burnt, think of a fire, a charred color that is going to be warm, burnt sienna, burnt umber, cadmiums also. And I included in parentheses, if you're buying, several of you bought from Hobby Lobby, and that's their version of them, okay? Phthalo blue is warm because it's got so much of that warmish look to it. Now, I will say some of these colors here, if you get a certain brand, I've seen phthalo looking very cool, but I am going to keep it here for now. Opera paint can be cool also, or if it's an opera rose, for sure, it's on the warm side. So you'll have to check it out. If it's a quinacridone or a quin, as I call it, definitely warm, quin gold, quin magenta, your yellows, yellow ochre, new gamboge, warm, 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 any kind of oranges, warm oranges. Scarlet Lake is very similar to cadmium red. Sepia, by the way, is warm. It's got a brownish undertone. Browns are warm. Viridian is warm, whether it's viridian green, viridian blue, it's a very warmish shade. As far as the cool colors, crimson red, the Hobby Lobby color, alizarin crimson is the one I said is very neutral. I use it as a neutral, but it's also anytime you want to use it as a cool, most people consider it in that category. Cobalt blue. Blues are normally on the cool side unless they have, you know, some of that warmish tones that are thrown in. If it's got some red in the blue, if it's got some brownish or yellow in the blue, it'll bring it over there. Any warm color that I'm showing here can also be a cool color. You can make a blue that's warm or cool. You can make a yellow that's warm or cool, and you certainly can make a red. Everyone can wear red, but some people look better in a ruby blue red, and some people look good in a tomato warm red. So it depends on your coloring, and we're not going to get into coloring on people right now, but I'm just telling you, day and night difference. You're going to look healthier, more well-rested, more approachable, likable if you wear colors that suit who you are, suit who your skin tone is. Underneath your tongue is the way is where I look, but we all have either olive tones to our skin, whether light or dark, or we have a pinkish bluish undertone, whether light or dark. So it's something for you to figure out on your own, but it really makes a difference with makeup as well, and hair color and everything else, jewelry, whatever. Okay, back to this cerulean blue, lemon yellow most of the time. Some lemons can be on the other. Indigo, definitely cool. When we use lamp black, not every black is cool, but most are. Payne's gray, I just told you. Sap green. Now, Hooker's green, I usually tend to do sap green. Hooker's green has more yellow in it, so it'd probably be warm most of the time. I've seen some Hooker's green that were still cool. They didn't have much yellow, they had more blue. Perylene green, some of you use a lot, I do. Now, raw umber and raw sienna, when we're painting something that's like a log, sometimes I'll say, oh, let's use more of the ashy brown if you have it. And that's because it's on the cool side or the warm on this side. Rose madder is a beautiful reddish tone, but it is definitely on the cooler side. Prussian blue and phthalo blue. So I'm going to leave this out for a second, or you can pause and do it. Just real quick, I know we're a couple minutes over 15, so let me end. I real quickly grabbed a couple paintings. They're not necessarily the best for this example, but I'm going to do it anyway. So this was just a meadow scene that I saw on some property, the barbed wire fence. You'll notice that the warmer colors bring this forward. By the way, warmer colors, if you put a cool next to a warm, it usually makes the warm look even more warm, the contrast of it. Again, the sky in the background, the daffodils, the sky is on the cool side with the blues, and then that makes these pop out, and especially the yellow is going to be the star of this painting. The giraffes, again, these are all burnt sienna-ish colors and brown and warm. They're going to come forward, and the rest is going to be in the back. So just to give you quick ideas, we're going to start, and I'm going to put it on later today, but we're going to start with our new classes starting next Thursday. I'm going to do a variety of days, but I'm going to start with the first two are going to be on Thursdays at 1, just because it worked out that way from my schedule, or there was a holiday or there was some reason. The first thing I'm going to teach you is a loose one. And I love seahorses, and I love these techniques. We're going to drop in colors. We're going to lift colors. We're going to do paint splatter. We're going to just have fun. I drew this freehand. It's just an S curve, and I'm going to draw the one in class freehand. This was a loose painting, but I'll also send you this or another one. I have several seahorses that I looked up that I thought I could send one of these out if someone felt the need that they'd like to trace it to have a good starting point. So I'll send a couple out if you'd like to trace. Otherwise, we're just going to play away with a lot of beautiful colors and techniques. And that's next Thursday. Hope you can join me. So I'm a little over, but thanks so much for coming. And thanks so much for watching. And I hope to see you next Thursday. And soon I will be posting the entire schedule for all of February. I've got some great ones if I do say so myself. I'm excited. Talk to you soon.